Everything's died. That's not good. Okay. Well, welcome everybody to Talking Niagara this morning. And yeah, we're looking at the news that impacts us locally in the Niagara Falls area every weekday, 7 a.m. So join us live every morning. All right. There you go. Morning, Dave. How are you?
Good morning. Good morning. That was one hell of an advertisement for us.
Well, yeah. Gotta try. Tell your friends.
Yes, I would say expert commentary on local and world events.
And
Just like every
when
other
you get
journalist,
in,
I do
subscribe
not produce my journalist credential.
and when you get in, I'm going to say this in true YouTube format. Press the like button and smash the bell so that you see this every morning.
You will enjoy
it. Okay, so
you'll be saying, "What the heck is Wheeler talking about?" Well, you idiot.
Okay, so real estate listings increased month over month from 1415 to 1738 in the last year.
Yeah, this article goes back a couple of days. Yeah, so some say it's real estate correcting itself, and I can tell you from my own experience that a friend of mine has a very nice house for sale. And he can't move it at all. He can't move it. He's being forced to lease it, or at least part of it.
Yeah,
and that's because he cannot get a reasonable offer for his property.
Well, also the other thing is, of course, high number of new listings, 1738 versus 1415 for August. So September's a record high that way, but the benchmark price has dropped to 595,800, and likely.
Yeah. So what we're finding is houses. Yeah. Go ahead.
The market's kind of stabilizing back to a more reasonable rate.
Well, it's because who's ever like that massive amount of movement from Metro Toronto down here and other places has sort of slowed down, I guess, a bit. There's a lot less speculation on homes. And we discovered earlier on that a lot of businesses were buying up homes and sort of dividing them and making apartments out of them. In the United States, I don't know what it was like here. 1/7 of all homes were being bought by companies, which limited the amount of homes that was available for the average person. And of course, they could pay a higher price for them.
Yeah, and those companies are, often looking to do odd things to houses, very odd things to houses.
Yes, it's not as bad as Florida. Florida right now is an absolute disaster. Condos that were on the seashore that were worth $600,000 just 2 years ago, they can't get $400,000 for them. I know a person that's trying to sell their condo, and as a matter of fact, they're just not selling it because they cannot get anywhere near the price they wanted, despite the fact that they lowered the price many times, and they still was selling. Now, Florida is a unique situation. Of course, they have less people going down there now than they did prior, but things like insurance and that sort of thing are pushing people away from that. And the Canadians who used to buy down there are not buying as much now because they can't afford it because of the price of the dollar. So
our dollar's not helping. Our dollar's not helping us in the US. in the US, right?
No, yeah. So if you wanted to buy investment or like a property down there, which is very common among Canadians, they're finding they're stuck with their properties right now.
Yeah. Well, my neighbors used to have a trailer in a trailer. They went down once or twice a year to Florida, and unfortunately got wrecked in a storm recent couple of years back.
Yes, insurance is a very high problem there because insurance companies are backing out of insuring people, and if they do, they insure them for very high amounts of money now.
Yeah.
The condos on the shore that I'm talking about, that's a big rise in their condo fees, was insurance if they can find somebody that will insure them. So places like for Canadian money down in Florida, that's a bit of a problem. But on the other hand, up here we find what they're calling sort of a correction. Now I've noticed I've advised people I know who's recently bought a house, and I said, do not be surprised if the value of your house goes down when it's been assessed by the bank in the next couple of years, because you still bought it when it was still fairly high in the market. It will go down. And I remember somebody that I know very well bought a home for the house was up for, this was back in the 90s, the early 90s, I think it was, when the house was up for about $140,000. The sellers reduced it to 120, where the people I know bought it, and within a few years, you couldn't get 90,000 for it.
Yeah.
Now that, of course, all changed and it moved up. And that same house was during the height of the real estate, the hot real estate era. Just recently, they could have got 800,000 for it, but now there's probably down to about 600,000. So,
and part of the problem here is that during the 90s and early 2000s up to about 2000 and I suppose 10-11, the Niagara real estate market was kind of flatlined. Most of the prices were very, you couldn't, if you bought a place in 95, you'd be selling it for the same in 2010. You'd not make a single penny profit out of it.
Yeah, so but that's when the bubble began, was in the 2000s. And I remember in the early 2000s when the bubble was growing and they kept thinking the bubble was going to burst. It never did burst. It just kind of shrunk a little bit, but kept going right up through now. So I expect that the big companies that have invested in properties have pretty much accumulated as much as they wanted, and that the prices are coming down because ordinary people can't afford them. Remember, all the prices around here got inflated because of the migration from the GTA down this way.
Yeah.
And so people sold like little bungalows for over $1 million in Toronto, and then came down here and bought a very nice home for $500,000 or $600,000 beyond their expectations normally.
Yeah.
So
and actually probably bought, they probably sold their $1 million cramped 3-bedroom house and came down here and bought, like, for $300,000 a massive 5-bedroom house.
Well, I know a guy in Brampton who lived in Brampton for years, and he did all right, but marriage, the division of marital property and all that. He had a townhouse, and he put on, like, during the hot market there, he put the outrageous price on it, $400,000, just to see how much of that he could get. He ended up with $625,000.
Yeah.
So he got over $200,000 more than asking. That was in Brampton.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, at the moment, it's not about flatlining per se, but it's about this, step downwards. 943,000 is the benchmark high price in Niagara on the Lake. Was a while ago that was well over $1 million.
Yeah.
Lowest benchmark price is Port Coburn at 524,000.
Yeah, you could probably get a very nice house in Port Coburn now for about that.
Yeah,
but that's just the way it is, and people's wages have not grown. As a matter of fact, two of my sons have bought houses, and it took them a very long time to do that. Now, normally, like by the time I was 28 years old, I'd owned a home. Let's say no. By the time I was 35 years old, I owned a home, 2 townhouses, and a cottage at regular wages. I got a bit of a boost when I worked in Libya, so I got a little extra coin. That explained the 2 townhouses that I had, because I had to put my money somewhere. I was going to spend it frivolously, so I put it in investments. And one I only held on.
I think you were fortunate. You were fortunate to go to the Middle East at a time when the Middle East was still paying decent wages.
Yeah, very well for what I did, I would say.
Yeah. Okay. So that market really there. I know pretty well Mike Cushman's going to have something to say about that. Morning, Mike. So Mike basically says World Bank over a decade has said the bubble must burst. Right. Not only limited, also raise the price on housing, making it unreachable for us. And they have priced the regular people out of the housing. It's destroyed our country.
Yeah. So
I knew you would be saying that, kind of, Mike. We expect nothing less from you, sir.
Yes, and then we have the other situation that's been exacerbated by developers who can't sell their homes because they did not build the kind of home that was affordable.
Yeah.
So that it's an extraordinary situation where you had a lot of people being shut out of the housing market, and it was a big political issue, and it was talked about over and over and over again by everyone from the meanest of city councilors to the highest of federal officials. And basically it was the fact that we didn't have enough homes, and the houses we did, when they did start to respond to the market, they built homes that would satisfy the higher end and make more profits that way. Well, it was a real push. City councils and regional councils had to really push for affordable homes and things like that. So,
and how many of the recent developments that you've seen, Dave, have the word affordable units within them? Very few. Most of them have ignored that requirement.
If you go back to the 80s, when there was an extremely high interest rate put upon everyone, I'm talking 18% interest rates. I bought a house back in 1979, and the interest rate was 15%, and it went up to 18% after that. And 15%, that was a lot of coin, man. And at that time, what builders did was respond to that market, and they built very small houses. So you can go down, say, like Church's Lane or in Heritage, you'd find these much smaller homes being built that would respond to the market. There were smaller, they were pretty well built little homes, but they were bare bones homes, and kind of responded, kind of similar to the wartime houses, but they were built within code, but it responded to the needs of the market. People could not buy the house that they wanted because of the interest rate. So the builders responded
Well,
to
some
that
of those,
market and built homes that they could.
and some of those were built on larger lots, so they weren't 2-bedroom, and they weren't small homes on a small lot. They were small homes on a slightly, on a lot that you could expand.
Well, most of them were on pretty ordinary size houses, lots, but or even a little bit smaller. But the whole thing was they responded to the market. People needed a place to live, and the builders responded to the market. The trouble was now that the builders were trying to respond to the market of people moving into the area that had more money.
Yeah.
Rather than trying to respond to the people who actually lived here. And we have a very modest average income in the Niagara region too, to boot.
Yeah, I know.
And
which is the whole point about
I don't know what to do.
Which is the whole point about the campaign for affordable housing.
Yeah, so we knew this sort of correction, sort of called correction. Some people call it correction, where housing is becoming reduced a bit. It's still very high for the average person. Two people with pretty good jobs in Niagara, a couple with pretty good jobs in Niagara, have to save for a very long time, have to put away a lot of money to get the down payment, and then they have to hit the banks, who are very, very reluctant to lend anybody any money nowadays. And I don't know. It's just a pretty sad situation. It still is not responding well to the market of affordable homes, and that may be pushing some people out on the street. So there's the couch surfing thing that goes on. I know people who have. I know one person in particular who's had people come and live with them for a month or so at a time because they get nowhere else to live. And they sleep on the couch. I remember talking a few years ago to a gas station attendant that I was talking to, and he was telling me his plights, that for weeks at a time he would just go from one friend to another, not imposing on one in particular, but sleep on the couch for a week or two at one person's house, then go sleep on the couch of another person's house, and that. So we were in a situation here where our lowest earners, who's still holding down a job, who still could not find an adequate place to live, and that is a bit of a problem. I think also a problem that we're facing, that we're not really not admitting, is the stratification of wealth in this country, and in the West in particular, where there's more and more money is gravitating to wealthier and wealthier people.
And that's a big problem. That's a big problem because, as you were saying, one of the, you didn't have a particularly high-powered job, but yet you had earned a reasonable living. You could buy yourself a house and things like that.
Yeah. An ordinary guy can buy an ordinary house. Yeah. Ordinary girl can buy an ordinary house. And what we find is, so you could do it. Now it's more dubious, and you have to plan. So my sons who bought a home just have bought homes, but they did it in their early 30s. I bought my first home when I was 25.
Yeah.
And many of my friends had bought it much earlier.
Well, I bought when I was 23. I bought a shared place where I shared it with two other guys.
Yeah, but you're talking about the third world, England, where you lived.
Ooh, no, sir. Anyway, okay. Many of us never received a pension from the works. Okay.
Yeah, there's all kinds of problems, and to remember the fact that we have a very modest average income across the board. I would say it's probably even slightly for Southern Ontario. It's probably one of the lowest for Southern Ontario, the Niagara region. When you compare it to all the other Southern Ontario cities and stuff, when you get into Northern Ontario, it's a different situation altogether.
Yeah.
But when you're talking about the kind of average income, and that suddenly explodes because you had a migration of people from the GTA who found that their homes, their little bungalow was now worth $1 million or more. This happened in the 80s as well. I'll have to point that out, that places like Peterborough, where I lived for a year, they were full of retirees from Toronto because the same situation happened. They suddenly found their homes worth, in those days, $200,000, and they could buy
beyond their wildest dreams.
Really nice house in Peterborough for $50,000.
Yeah. So they found a nice large place beyond their wildest dreams and moved to take advantage of it. Yeah. Okay. Moving on. Niagara Falls Tourism is seeking volunteers for for marketing campaigns, and I have to ask for this one. As soon as I went, what? You're not paying people for advertising to help them with your advertising campaign? Out of order.
I was okay with it because I'm hoping I'm going to get discovered.
Yeah, but you're already discovered.
I'll do it for free as long as you get my best side in every photograph.
Yeah, but no, they'll get you your finger. It'll be the finger that touches the camera,
Well, right now I'd like to lift my middle finger to them who want to have people model without paying them. The comment here is they have a lot of money. They have a lot of money to do that, and we find people here stressed for coin. And you could actually a modeling. I think it's just kind of extras they're looking for, from what I'm reading, is kind of extras and stuff like that. They could, with all the people with that are unemployed and stuff like that, you could get them out there to do a bit of extra work, or modeling as they call it, and give them a few dinero. Why not?
And it's like that, it used to be like in Hollywood, they'd have extras, and they'd call people in off the street, and they'd pay them a few $100s a day, just a few, the man walking down the road smoking a cigarette, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, nowadays it'd be a man walking down the road smoking a reefer.
Yeah. But anyway, but again, they would pay them. I don't know that the idea of, I'm not a fan of doing work like this. You're advertising the area, pay people.
Yeah. Now it could be fun. It's something that could be fun for a lot of people, so it doesn't really go into the campaign. I have a feeling it's more like extras in the background of photographs and videos and that kind of thing. I knew people who worked as extras in movies that were shot down around here. As a matter of fact, the original Dead Zone, a whole pile of people in there I know. There were the extras in the films, but they've got paid.
But again, you can do extras by just filming on a street where there's people walking by. If you go down to any day of the week, you can go down to the falls the main, go down to Victoria Park, and you'll be able to just film something there, and you've got plenty of people to fill the background any day of the week.
Well, here it says the casting call is for families with children 5 to 15 or adult couples of all ages, no experience required. Contacted Friday, Niagara Falls Tourism provided a statement saying that more than 105 local residents had already responded to the casting call. The program is distinct from our paid advertising campaigns. Oh, that's why they're not paying for them. Oh, it's distinct. So this is a non-paying position. Statement says, we are seeking authentic content that showcases members of our community and encourages their engagement with tourism as an important economic driver for the region. Yeah, well, how come you're not paying them? We produce paid advertising campaigns. We do casting that kind of thing. But I don't know. It's a fun kind of thing. I think if you want to just have some fun, being cast in such a thing, I suppose it'd be fun. But still, seriously speaking, they should fork over a little coin to people that do that. I mean, you're looking for authenticity, so that's why you're not paying them. You're not paying them. You are not paying them because you want authenticity.
Yeah,
that sounds dumb.
And again, Mike says the municipal accommodation tax is for tourism advertising. I think they should audit them. I think they should audit this. Is about tax and readdress what the money is used for. Yeah, and if you're talking about advertising, there you go. We've got money to advertise, right? There's money brought in to advertise.
This is the first step the capital swine is taking over and making us peasants again. I'm thinking pitchforks and torches.
Right. They have
where's that guillotine?
They have the right at one time. You're right, Dave. As much as has been taken away, I went to a ride. Do you think I could walk without the cost of it? This is so nutty. Yeah. And again, take a look at the voted people we have chose, and which is a lie. Disrespect of our dollars, using it for personal use. Don't know what she's referring to there, but again, I'm not a fan of doing any. I'm not saying you need to be paid a fortune, but this time of year, particularly at this time of year, there are people who've finished their tourism jobs. Pay them something.
Yeah, I could see where it's fun, but I mean, it really does send the wrong message. Basically, we want authentic people, so we're not going to pay them.
Yeah.
We want your authenticity, and you can't be authentic if you're being paid. It seems like, and it seems so stingy too.
Yeah.
When you have a lot of resources and you shell out big time coin to count consultants and all the other things, and you're trying to make up some sort of authentic type of look of what Niagara looks like, and you don't want to compensate people for their time.
I'm sorry. I think this is wrong. Compensate them. I'm absolutely.
Well, the problem is they're going to have a lot of people who are giddy about being on TV and videos and pictures. So you're going to have a bunch of people that don't have anything else to do or could find the time that will volunteer for something like that, just for the experience of getting in, getting their pictures in advertisement or whatever it is. So I beseech those people. I could see it looks like fun. You could be in these pictures. Oh, isn't that cool? Something to do. But I would beseech the people who are doing it for free to sort of hold back and insist upon people being paid, even if you take your own. If you don't need those wages and you give them to the poor or something like that, or donate it.
Yeah,
at least insist upon some kind of compensation.
Yeah, compensate them, and even if that person needs the money, they can use it. If they want to give it away, again, that's fine, right?
It sounds like
Okay.
such skinflints, eh? We're gonna make these videos about the authenticness of Niagara Falls, so we can spread the news of how wonderful Niagara Falls is, and but we're really stingy skinflints, and we're gonna talk you into it because we know that we can kind of convince you to do it for free.
Hang on a moment for a minute. This is actually where I'm going to move on to something where I actually recommend people do volunteer. By the way,
Okay.
The Niagara Falls Santa Claus Parade is looking for volunteers for the 2025 Santa Claus Parade, which will be held on Saturday, November 15th in downtown Niagara Falls. I would think that's way too early for for the Santa Parade. It should be held in December, not in November. But they're basically saying if you want to volunteer and get on a float, you need to put in your entries for floats, bands, performers, organizations, and must be submitted using the official parade entry form by Thursday, October 17th, 2025. It is Wednesday, October 15th. So it can't be Thursday, October 17th. That must be Friday.
That's like, wow, that's super. But I could make the short list for Santa Claus because I passed the circumference test.
But your voice, can you do? Come on, I want an audition. Ho ho ho.
How like the one on the Christmas Story when the kid wanted the BB gun. How all right, and they just put one kid after another and then shoot them down the slide. Yeah, I'm good with that one.
Yeah, I don't know. Actually, I would have thought they've chosen the Santa Claus already.
Yeah, I think a really good elf would be Gary Wilkins. Me and Gary, yeah, Gary could be the elf and I could be Santa Claus. Wow.
There you go. There you go. That's something worth thinking about.
Yeah. If they're looking for us, we'll be at the bar.
Yeah. Well.
Right. Santa Claus, how come you smell like beer?
Doesn't help, does it?
Yeah.
Doesn't help the image of Santa Claus, does it?
Yeah. Look, kid, if you want me to work on your parents, you got to cut me in for $5 or $10, and I'll go over to your parents and tell them, well, this child is wonderful. You should give them anything they want, but that'll cost you $5, kid.
and then it's like, okay, so parents, I hear you're being naughty this year. You're considering not giving Johnny a present for Christmas. I think it's about time you give me $10, and I will tell you exactly what Johnny requires.
Yeah, well, I'll remember is one thing I said to my wife one time. I hope you plan to be naughty at Christmas this year. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink.
Naughty.
I've got an idea what I want for my Christmas present.
Halloween is coming. Scary. Did you hear about a harbor that houses celebrities, and then they moved there? Hey?
What? No, I didn't. I didn't hear. It doesn't sound. Halloween is scary. Did you hear about a harbor that houses celebrities and they moved there? Harbor. No, I didn't. That deserves better explanation, I think.
Yeah.
It sounds interesting. It sounds pretty interesting.
All right. Moving on. Anything else about Santa Claus Parade?
No,
Is Kiwanis doing anything?
What's that?
Is Kiwanis doing anything?
I don't think so. There was a time I think we did participate in the. I think we helped other people make floats or something of that kind, but usually our money cannot be used for stuff like that. That's too kind of. It's fun, but we have to keep our money to essentials. So we wouldn't be handing money over. Or using our resources unless it's our own individual money to make a float of any kind like that.
Yeah, I was wondering if.
Rest assured, we I had somebody reach out from me from another organization, wondering if we'd like to put up $2,000 for the Salvation Army, and I just had to tell them we already do. Because last year we gave them $5,000, and the year before that we gave them $10,000. So, yeah. So you can see where our money is going to go.
Yeah. No, I'm just asking. I'm not. Not saying anything, any reason or anything. Did you know if we have a hope charity? Do you know if we have a hope charity here? I don't know.
There are so many. There's Tender Wishes and that kind of thing. It was along that line, a hope thing for children, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. I don't know. Not off the top of my head.
But there are. If I once looked at the local charities in the Niagara region one time. As a matter of fact, I had to look up the local charities for some reason for my union one time. And I forget what the purpose was that for, and I found like there's a whole page of them. Like I stopped reading them after number 33. So there is a lot of different charities and registered charities around. And remember, my group, Kiwanis, is not a registered charity. What we do is get donations and get money and give them to registered charities. That's our job. As a service club, is to fundraise or find ways of making money and then providing that money to registered charities.
Yeah. Okay. So the parade will start at Victoria Avenue at Armory Street and end on Queen Street at City Hall. And apparently the volunteer shifts are running 3:30 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. on parade day. And I'm guessing that is the time of the parade, 3:30 to 6:30. Normally it's early morning.
Yeah.
That'd be a nice change. I'm interested in that change.
Well, we were part of the Christmas parade for 4680Q. I don't know if you were part of it, but we all held a banner and walked down. I think it was Peter Dichter that was doing the play-by-play, and he had a microphone and he kind of announced the different people coming through. And we were on. We had just a big banner that we were walking. I can't even remember there was a number of us that were holding the banner, and I can't even remember them all now.
I don't remember being part of it, but yeah. Probably you either one of those things I've forgotten or anyway, yeah. Okay, well, I'm for everybody who's taking part in that, great, good luck and best wishes. All right, and it's for the homelessness, but never heard of it yet. Okay, that Hope charity. Okay, all right. And did you give wagon rides in Niagara old fashioned?
Oh God.
Okay, there we go. All right, moving on. This weekend, King's protests are happening, or King's protests no King's protests are happening across the US.
Yes, and it's how it's characterized by the Republicans is unbelievable. They're calling it the Hate America rally. Now, this is a No Kings rally and demonstrations. There was already one like this that had 2,000 different communities, I think, throughout the United States had a No Kings demonstration. This is
back in June 14th, yeah.
Yeah. Now, this is a demonstration about people who are worried that there's an authoritarian edge to the Republican Party now. Donald Trump and the Project 2025 are pushing things towards where they have an authoritarian leader with an authoritarian group of a cabal of sycophants behind them. But it's being characterized by the Republicans won't even use No Kings rally to describe it. They said it's a hate America campaign. It's a hate American demonstration. The name that everyone's given it was the No Kings demonstration protests, but the Republicans won't use it. They say it is the hate America, is all the people who are Antifa, Hamas, and communists, and all manner of insulting and really deceitful ways of describing this. This is a rally that people from the right and the left will be joining, and this is how it was described by Mike Johnson. He says it is the hate America, people who hate America. These are the Hamas supporters, the Antifa supporters, the communists. These are the Soros paid protests. These are the terror from the terrorist wing of the left. This is a mischaracterization like nothing I've heard before, because there are conservatives among this No Kings rally. There are small R Republicans and other Republicans. Basically, there's some pretty hard right conservatives that are against what was happening now, and they will be included in this protest. The protest is super mischaracterized, and they won't even use the title No Kings.
Well, the other thing about it is it's being supported by the American Federation of Government Employees.
Yeah, it's supported by even government, like day-to-day, everyday workers.
Yeah.
And they're being characterized as Hamas and Antifa and all that. That is ridiculous. Like, it is a scare tactic by, I couldn't believe, like, I don't expect clean truth from Mike Johnson at all. Like, he's kind of really tricky in how he's avoiding swearing in a congressperson, how he dismissed Congress before they could vote on the Epstein thing and all of that. So he's not exactly the most truthful person. He's supposed to be a Christian. You can't be that a Christian if you're that full of lies and deceit. But the way he characterizes this is actually criminal. How can you say these people are Antifa, Hamas, and all that? They've already had these protests before, and pretty much there hasn't been window smashing and all that other stuff. So
yeah,
they are the terrorist wing of the Democratic Party. Do you call the Oath Keepers and the Pride Boys the terrorist ring of the right wing movement? Do you do that?
Yeah.
This is unfortunately the kind of thing that is happening now in the United States, and I don't doubt it will start happening here. It's beyond hyperbole. It's beyond exaggeration. It is downright lies now.
Well, and it's when we get campaigns that are like this, which turn to lies, that really bother me.
Well, you have a situation where they're characterizing your American neighbor as a terrorist.
Yeah.
You are characterizing them as a person who hates America, even though many of them carry American flags.
Well, and the thing is about the No King's Day is, irrespective of what you feel about any protest, protests are valid. It's the way we do things within a democracy. If you want to if you want to stop protests, either listen to, my view is either two ways you're going to deal with stopping protests. One, you're going to listen to what the protesters say and do something about it to counteract it, right, or solve their problems. Or two, you're going to actually stick them all in jail and be an authoritarian regime.
What they wanted, and Pete Besant, he did actually use the no king's term. He said, if you want a no king's protest, that means you're going to get a no paycheck. No kings equals no paycheck.
Yeah.
So they're using fear and intimidation. First of all, they're mischaracterizing them as Hamas and Antifa and part of the terrorist wing supported by George Soros. They're taking on all these sort of far right talking points, these conspiracy talking points, and they're trying to divide Americans. They already so. What Mike Johnson's saying, as soon as the demonstrations go out there about people who are demonstrating against authoritarianism, he doesn't want to describe it as that. If you were to say, ask anyone, even somebody who's not going to be a part of the protest, what do the No Kings protest mean? Well, they mean that they're worried that these people are worried about a shift towards authoritarianism.
Yeah.
The Republicans will not say that. In old days, they would say, well, these are misguided people who think that there is a move towards authoritarianism, and they couldn't be more wrong. But now they're just saying that these are terrorists who support Hamas and Antifa, which is ridiculous characterization, and that are supported by this sort of dark and mystery figure, George Soros, who wants to collapse the foundation of capitalistic world democracy, and never saying that George Soros is one of the most successful capitalists in history.
Okay, Robert De Niro has called on Americans to take part in the upcoming No King's Day, referring to the American Revolution back in 1776 as the original No Kings demonstration.
Yeah, and if I were them, I would dress up like patriots with tricorn hats and Minutemen and things like that happened in 1776. I would do that to characterize it and kind of take this.
Yeah,
like I would. Mike Johnson, by coming towards the nation and saying that what he did made him one of the biggest liars I've ever seen, and he has made it very clear that it doesn't matter the truth of a situation. The ends justify the means. When the Oath Keepers and the Pride Boys attacked Capitol Hill back in January 6th, Fox News tried to characterize the rioters as Antifa. It must be Antifa. It must be Antifa. You know, they did that on purpose because they knew that the people who were there were Trump supporters. So they try to say, well, they couldn't have done it. It must be Antifa. So all those people there are not Trump supporters. There must be Antifa. Right? This is the kind of thing the right does. And I'm not saying the left doesn't do it either. But the left tries to pick on very petty things. I'm pretty sick of that. Is just what Johnson did there is really does demonstrate the lowest of all levels that he would stoop to, and he knows all of that's a lie.
Yeah. All right. We can move on. Police are warning local Niagara residents that they need to be vigilant in the wake of the increase of what's called distraction thefts involving victims having jewelry where they were wearing stolen from them.
Yeah, there's a lot of distraction theft too, and there's another article which I didn't post, but I should have, and it's a different kind of distraction theft, where a whole lot of in this case women go into a grocery store, and they distract the cashiers and everybody else at the same time, filling up their bags or their dresses or their coats with produce, expensive stuff like whole bags of steaks that are worth $110. You know how much. So they go for the expensive items, fill up their thing. They have somebody go to the cashier and distract her and make like they don't understand what the price is. Is this $5? And the person says, no, this is $35. In the meantime, the place is being full up with Confederates in this distraction scheme. Now, distraction is probably the second oldest. This distraction theft probably is probably the second oldest profession next to prostitution, basically, because it's been around for a long time. I remember in my high school, there was some kids would do that. They would do the distraction thing. They'd go into the local Radio Shack and they'd get somebody talking to them about this or that, quit. But the one they were talking about in the people pull over in a van, they ask for directions, and they feel so grateful that they insist on giving somebody a gift. In this particular instance, it was a necklace. So they say, here, we insist that we give you this gift. They put a necklace around your neck. In the meantime, remove your valuable one that you're already wearing.
Yeah.
With the price of gold now, I guess that's worth it for them. But but you also have to worry about them being pickpockets too. So if they come up to you and they seem warm and friendly, and let's say I don't know if they do this, but say they act in an ethnic way where you know that certain ethnic people are more physical and they're more exuberant. They might steal your wallet or your purse, that kind of thing, and you not know it.
Well, there was some ones. I don't know. I had my suspicions about somebody I saw recently, but I don't know that it was distraction type thefts they were dealing with. Because there was put it this way, there was a guy directing a load of women in the car park at Zayre's. And I don't know whether they were into distraction thefts or what.
How so?
Well, I really, all I saw was these women kept coming back to the van with stuff in their hands.
And then going back in for more.
And then going back in, yeah.
So in their hands and not in a shopping cart. Were shopping carts available?
Of course there were shopping carts available, but they come in with things in their hands.
Okay, that might be it. Yeah. I've witnessed a few thefts myself. As a matter of fact,
I only saw what was in the car park, not what was going on in the store, because I was leaving at the time. I didn't see anything untoward in the store. But then why would you?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Well, there's a little film in one of the articles there about distraction theft. If you go to the Niagara Falls Review, they have actually a little video. It's one of the local farms and the markets there, and they get pilfered that way. So they kind of swarm the area, and it looks like some of the I'm not sure, but it looks like some of the women try to look ethnic, so they have big dresses and burqas. Maybe that's where they're storing the stuff, trying to hide it. Meanwhile, I would suggest that would be very unlikely, because most women with burkas are probably are not thieves. They would be religious people, and that would be contrary to their religious beliefs. So they could be fake religious people, you know.
Yeah. This was sometime, in many stores now, like Zayres, have got these barriers in there. Right? They put the barriers up about a year or two ago.
Oh, to go in
yeah,
and then come back out. Yeah.
And this happened shortly, about a month or so before they put the barriers up. The barriers may have nothing to do with that particular, but it seemed as if there must have been a raid going on at the time. I didn't notice it because why would I?
I think the barrier going in, I don't know what the purpose of that is, except that they do have a kind of a guy watching it. And
to be quite honest, I've seen the guy watching it. It's like, I'm in Cloud Cuckoo Land. I really don't care what's going on here.
The whole idea is to give the impression to people that there's somebody watching.
Yeah.
It's I don't know. I remember standing in Sobeys a few years ago, and people would go through, and the alarms there, and the alarms would go off, and they would stop. People would stop, and then somebody would come to check to see what merchandise they didn't deactivate, but people would just stop when the alarm went off. Yeah. But there was lots of people that got away with it. I remember one lady, one middle-aged lady, and she had nothing on her. She just took off like a bullet, really fast walking, and went right through the alarm. The alarm went off, and she took off, and I saw her. And the store people are looking around. Nobody stopped, so nobody decided to check it. They didn't. They all assumed that the alarm went off for stuff that hadn't been deactivated, rather than thinking it was an actual real theft. Yeah. And that lady walked out of there, I think, with stuff stuffed in her coat.
So she just
and I said that too. It was a busy day. I said, that lady just walked out of here. And then I kind of just somebody took a quick look. There was no shopping cart. Nobody saw anything. But the problem was that was stopping people who didn't get their, accidentally did not get their items deactivated, or it didn't work, but they stopped to make sure that everything was okay. But the people that were doing the real thefts were just blowing through there.
Yeah. Exactly. So yeah, something to be mindful of, but generally speaking, I'm not a fan of these barriers that have gone up in Sobeys Sobeys and Zayres and the like.
Well, I kind of amused when I pick up a store deck. When you go into a place, I think the last one was in Shoppers Drug Mart. I can't remember what store it was. I think it was that. Every once in a while, I'll pick up a store deck, and so they'll start watching you. They'll start watching you, especially if you got a big coat on or something like that. You'll notice that somebody's looking at a card, and that same person seems to they work in coordination with another person, and they seem to always be around you looking at stuff. And I'm thinking, boy, you got the wrong person. Yeah. One time I went into the Target store, and I must have looked pretty bad or something, but I had a big old beat up coat, and I went into the Target store, and I was looking around for something. So I went to a part of the Target store where, very few people were shopping. I think it was looking for something in the hardware, whatever hardware they had, as meager as it was. And I noticed there were the same five of them, women, pushed the shopping carts to in and around my vicinity. I'm thinking, oh, Jesus, you really got the wrong guy, But anyway, the distraction, the thievery is going up. Unfortunately, there seems to be more and more clever ways of stealing things now.
Yeah.
And we found it's happened here in Niagara too, where somebody just raids a jewelry store, smashes the glass, takes as much jewelry as they want, and runs away. What does a jewelry store person do? Even if they call the cops, by the time the cops get there, and they usually take in a car they've either stolen or put false plates on, so they come in with the masks. Sometimes surgical masks because they're still being used. Oh, I have to say this though, just as an aside, Donald Trump just got a COVID shot. He's supposed to be complaining about COVID and COVID stuff, and his RFK is being warning about COVID shots, but the president gets one the other day, along with a flu shot. So a flu shot and a COVID shot. Anyway, aside from that, people still wear those surgical masks. A fair amount of people still do, and so they walk in and so at first when you see them come in, there's nothing that alarms you, but then they start smashing your display cases and taking away your jewelry.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Moving on.
Corner stores and there are just thieves all the time.
Fortunate and unfortunately, the police seem to be doing nothing about it. Clueless about the corners.
We don't have much they can do. Somebody steals a chocolate bar,
The corner store robberies bug me the most because it's the corner stores. It's. Yeah, you talked about a chocolate bar. Yes, and unfortunately, that's been the problem with corner stores for quite some time. They lose chocolate bars all the time. But the corner store robbery, where you're actually going in there and forcing them to hand over large amounts of cash, is what's killing. It's happened a few times as well.
Well, that too, knocking over the store and stealing cash. That's a different thing altogether. But this pilfering that's going on, it seems to be part of our culture. And a couple of weeks ago, I saw a couple in a corner store. I was there waiting, and it was kind of a little bit annoyed because they knew the cashier, and they were talking, and the girl was talking, and then I noticed him stealing a chocolate bar when the cashier was looking the other way. He's at the counter, He stole a chocolate bar.
Well,
then I told her, I said, you know those people? They're friends of you? Oh, yes, they are. Do you know that guy just stole a chocolate bar from you? And she says, oh, thanks. I'm going to review the tape on that.
Well, it was another one talking about that. I remember seeing, and it is widespread. People go into a supermarket. They get like a packet of biscuits or something, and then they browse through the supermarket, eating the packet of biscuits. And then later on, you find the empty packet, biscuit packet on a shelf somewhere.
Yeah, sure. So you could go into you're talking about Zares, and right as you walk in, they have sandwiches made and other little foods. Yeah. You can grab one of them, knock it off, and then leave. Well, that's been the case for a very long time. I think the members of the band used to do that. They were starving when they're driving around trying to get gigs. They didn't have much money. They would go into a grocery store and a big store and then eat whatever they could and left. They even stole things. They had winter coats because they were from Canada, so they must have looked kind of funny going into a store. But they actually just did admit to doing shoplifting so they could eat. So I don't know. It's part of the culture, though, don't you think? It's like part of the culture.
Yeah, it's getting worse, though. It's getting worse.
Yeah. I remember having a yard sale, and a guy was asking me about a certain socket that I had if I was going to sell it, because I had tools for sale. And he asked about a certain socket, and I said, well, we'll have it here, you know what I mean? And then I looked the other way, talked to somebody else, and then that guy had walked away, but the socket was gone.
Yeah.
So the fucker, the guy pocketed it, but I didn't see it directly. I couldn't accuse him of it.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought to myself, that socket would cost you a couple of bucks, and you stole it. What a low life pig.
Yeah. All right. Rock University. Actually, we can't do this because we're already out of time.
Yes. Well, I got to talk about Gaza again. There are everybody thinks that Netanyahu's looking for an excuse to reignite the war in some way or somehow, and of course we all think that's exactly what he'll try to do. He'll try to take some advantage of some incident to call the whole thing off or do something. But what makes me sick to my stomach is the Hamas was not able to produce the dead bodies of the hostages fast enough. They could only produce 4, and they're trying to look for the others. Some are buried in some of the rubble. So what did the IDF and the Israeli government do? They cut in half the supplies going into Gaza. So the food and the medicine and the water, as a punishment for not producing the dead bodies of the hostages fast enough, they reduced the flow of food, water, and medicine by half.
Yeah. That's disgusting.
That's collective punishment.
Yeah.
You're punishing everybody
and how
in Gaza because Hamas cannot find these bodies.
Yeah.
That's
and how does how do you find something that was gone 2 years ago? That's tough. Yeah.
Well, and they're massively disorganized. And of course, we heard they're fighting the Dogmish family clan there too. So with all this stuff going on, but the response of the government is you're not producing the dead bodies of our hostages fast enough. So we're going to reduce the supplies you're getting. So Palestinians are going to get less food, less medicine, and less water because you cannot produce dead bodies. That's a sick response.
Yeah.
You're telling Hamas, well, we're gonna punish all the Palestinians for your ineptitude. That's sick.
And how would you
to make sure that kid doesn't get the medicine he needs, or only half of it, because you cannot produce dead bodies?
So wrong. Yeah. Okay.
This has a long way to be fixed. Netanyahu has to get out of there. Hamas has to leave. But as we've said before, we have very little understanding of the situation in the ground in Gaza because Hamas was only one of 7 Islamic type organizations. They were the most political. You also have these clan dimensions going on, and the Palestinian Authority has not yet been brought back in. So it's going to be a very tenuous situation. There's going to be lots of excuses for Netanyahu to continue his outrages. Anyway, let's hope that doesn't happen and hope peace finds a way. Without further ado, I bid you adieu.